Rachel, it's been just a few weeks since the last time this group was together, and it was a really tough night at Hampden. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, I think it's still really difficult when anyone brings it up, or you speak of the World Cup. There's constant reminders, as there will be continually now for the next 7-8 months, and it is hard. I think for me personally, there was so much belief that we could have and should have got a result that night. Obviously we didn't, which in sport is how it goes. Doesn't always go the way you want it to, but yeah, you have to move forward. I think it was a blessing and a curse that we all probably had to go back into a club environment, and you have to put your boots back on, you have to turn up to training, you have to get back into the groove of that, and whilst that does help you, there also is still those residual feelings that I think will last a long time. I don't think any of us will forget how it's felt over the last few weeks.
You touched on it a little bit there, but what sort of impact did that have on you personally in the context of what you've experienced so far in your career?
It was hard. I think it was probably the lowest moment I've experienced, and certainly sort of the 48, 72 hours that followed were really difficult. I think probably a lot of people at club saw me in a way that they possibly haven't seen me before. But you put absolutely everything into what you do. I know all of us do that within this group. Not just the ones here, not just ones that were there. The broader group. Everyone, I think, over the years has pushed so hard to drive us forward, to get ourselves, whether it's individually or as a collective group, give ourselves opportunity to be better. And I think we've done that, and I think that's why we feel it's really painful to not be looking forward to something next summer that could have been really special, and instead you have to go back and reflect and work on what we can do better, and how we can learn and how we can move forward, which isn't easy. It's not simple fixes. It's not something that is that enjoyable either, but it is part of what you have to do.
And we're obviously here now in Spain, and the mood in the camp, it almost feels like a fresh start in a lot of ways. Does it feel like, for you, having gone through what you've gone through in the last month, like perhaps a bit of a watershed moment?
I think there's two parts. I think it's really good to be around the girls who were obviously involved last camp and have, are ultimately close friends, people who've experienced it, people who can relate. I think it's important to be back together and be able to just look back a few weeks later. Your feelings have changed, the emotions have settled a little bit, and you can be a little bit more objective with some of that reflection time. And then I think, as you say, it's a period now, it's an opportunity which doesn't come often, where you can utilise this time to be together and try different things. And so often when you're in an international capacity, there's pressure on the line. And of course there still is pressure with these games that we have, because we want to win, and we want to also put in good performances that reflect what we're trying to achieve, and the smaller, finer details that we're trying to improve. But I think collectively there's probably two parts. I think it's good to be back together and be around one another, albeit sometimes difficult, and also I think it's a good opportunity to see new faces, give people a chance.
And on those new faces, Brogan Hayes had her first call up here. It's been a few years since your first camp as well. Do you remember much about that first trip and how Brogan might be feeling when you go away with Scotland for the first time? Maybe those nervous kind of feelings.
Yeah, you definitely remember your first camp, that's for sure. I think mine was February, March 2009 in Cyprus. So those moments live with you forever, and they're special. It'll be special for her, and I'm sure I've not had a chance to speak to her in too much depth, and I'm sure there'll be nerves, but there'll also be that excitement. And I think when you're a younger player, there's a little bit of fearlessness that sometimes for the rest of the group, it's really refreshing when someone comes in and brings that. So yeah, it's exciting. And I think the last time I saw her, she was only about 11 or 12 years old, coming through the Glasgow City Academy. So it's also good to just see more young players getting the chance and working hard and getting their opportunity.
And we have a fantastic week's training here and an absolutely stunning setting, and the training pitches just down the back there. We face Panama and Venezuela towards the end of the week. You know, we've talked about your role as captain, but what do you hope to get from everybody, from the squad, from this camp?
The biggest part of playing for Scotland will always be that heart and desire to represent your country, wear the shirt, have the badge on your chest, and I think that's something that, you know, is always a constant reminder. It's always something that we try and make sure is integral to what we do when we're here, and people are very much aware of it. And you know, we want 2 good results and we want 2 good performances. And that's something that we need, and in amongst all of that, we need to make sure we have 5 or 6 really good days on the training pitch, because again, it's a really massive opportunity to get that time to work hard, to work on things that when you're preparing for a competitive game, you don't always get the chance to focus on some of the smaller details. So yeah, it's now we're here, it's really nice to just have this environment again, be back together, and it's always nice when the sun's out too.